This week on Hermitcraft.
Is he... I mean, if he dies, I hope he knows that all his items are going to go into my sorting system, and I'm 100% not helping him get them out.
Welcome to the Hermitcraft Recap. My name is Pixel Riffs, our writer is LoyXP, and how about those World Tour live streams? Pretty cool, huh?
X is so clever. Mm-hmm. I do remember filling his base with cats, though, for reasons that will remain fish-related.
Well, as the hermits are out there exploring the previous seasons, let's not lose track of the current one. We wouldn't want them to be too prepared for Zloy's Hermitcraft history quiz. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week.
Boom! Here we go!
Starting with Zedaf, since he's so keen on preserving himself for history, what with his cryo chamber. Continuing on his quest to make his bed cooler than the other side of the pillow, Zed has perfected the art of shifting the player perspective into the ice while asleep. But that starts being a problem when he finds himself waking up on the wrong side of it too.
So let's try this again now. We stand here, we get in bed, we're looking in our cryogenic chamber area that we'll need to design, and then boom, we wake up at the bottom of the bed. Very weird, very simple. I'm kind of annoyed, so we don't even need to watch for when we're asleep anymore. We don't need a single piece of redstone at all. All we need is a cobweb.
For additional effect, he gets a hold of the armor stand manipulation book and tries putting some ice cubes into the equation. But sadly, the whole contraption for visual storytelling ends up being a smidge too tall for the glacier base, not helped by the base itself being so transparent and so underwater.
And asleep. That's kind of cool.
Taking a page out of his book, probably the one with the funny remarks scribbled on it, GoodTimesWith Scar gets the drop on his rising competitor Sahara and adds a glass shop to ConCorp's collection of enterprises. You can spot it by the crystalline shimmer every time the sun hits it, as it is very much built out of the very material it distributes.
So do you like this version of the house or this one? Now, both of them have quite a few pros and cons. This one has a little bit more detail. It almost looks a little more put together, whereas the other one has such a ghostly vibe to it. It's a little bit mysterious with just the glass and no lines. But yeah, I'm very curious. Which one do you guys like?
Scar originally conceived and assembled the ghost house in a video his computer decided to corrupt and brick beyond repair. Thankfully, the build itself made it out alive, so it's just a matter of incorporating it into the landscape, perhaps with more of that semi-transparent stuff. I mean, it's not like he needs it for anything else.
Oh, by the way, I used all the glass for the shop to build it. I don't have anything to sell. I'm not kidding. I used, I think, 6 shulker boxes of glass to build that house, and that was what I was going to use to sell things.
It is fortunate then that Cubfan chose to take a maintenance day and fix some twitchy bits in the ConCorp Super Omega smelter, although for the test he uses raw cod.
And yeah, there is a known issue, which probably is what caused this.
Having fixed both that and the unreasonably glitched pumpkin and melon smasher, he finds that even the dead coral shop is malfunctioning for some reason, or should I say, greason, but is unfazed by that, despite already having had a Doc M visit about it once.
But we got a lot of diamonds from the 2 coral shops today. Not too bad. I guess the pollution is it's quite profitable.
It's a surprise that no fingers have been pointed at Iskall, considering he's recently come into possession of an industrial-sized quantity of slime, but his supply is much more efficient and tidy, not to mention being in the middle of an iceberg biome. And this week, the slime robot gets an attachment, a crafting station where he can take slime balls out of green boxes, turn them into cubes, and then put them back into green boxes.
So I decided to spend a couple of hours trying to design this thing, and I just see like a very ugly dog with one tooth and the ears, and I can't get over it. I've changed this up so many times.
It's all in the name of having supplies for Sahara. The lack of chemical spills is just a happy coincidence. After a moment of existential horror as he realizes how much redstone wire could be required for the ordering system at Sahara,
so we have to send 50 different redstone lines that can't be connected from there all the way up to here. 50 blocks of redstone is at least 50 blocks wide, and that is if you use repeaters alternating with dust so that they don't connect.
He decides to take the option which won't lag the server to heck and sets up a single water stream carrying item-based order forms to the warehouse. Installing the decoding circuit underneath the storage circuit is still a complex task, but after a couple of stress tests, it seems to be working as planned. He's even got enough time for foul play, by which we mean trapping Grian in a glass box next to a parrot,
This looks absolutely ridiculous.
and tampering with the redstone life meter so Mumbo's new chicken never dies.
And hopefully you guys won't tell him, because this would be absolutely hilarious.
Those chickens have certainly been getting around, as Impulse discovers when he makes a return to the server after his month-long hiatus.
Today, what we're gonna do is reimagine this whole thing. We're gonna right a wrong and figure out why there's a chicken in a cage. What is happening here?
Recovered from the failed Hermitcraft burnout, he's back, and he's proving it by building everything out of quartz. Starting with a complete makeover and expansion of his cliffside house back at iBay. He even starts a pedestrian entrance because Elytraflight has gotten even worse since he last logged in, but on the flip side, he's got a lot of diamonds waiting for him at his various shops.
Yeah, this place is completely bought out. But we got work to do. We gotta get this thing restocked. I've got some grinding time ahead of me.
Despite Sahara and ConCorp threatening to corner the market in, well, everything, there's one hermit who's still coming up with the goods, and that's Python, who realizes there's a gap in the market for a concrete shop right now.
Do I really want to spend hours upon hours of my day doing this? That's the real question.
Even if that doesn't pan out, he's always got the Shulker Box shop, which needs a full restock yet again, so he heads back out to the end in between finishing off the structure of his blue-themed skyscraper.
It's donezo. It is finito. It is done. I am happy, guys. I am very, very happy.
Joe Hills also spends a lot of time with the colour blue, partly because he's feeling blue about being unable to visit Notre Dame before bits of it burned down.
I'm gonna totally mispronounce Notre Dame this entire episode. This is not out of disrespect. This is just, I don't know how to say it right. I'm trying.
But also because he's building out the tunnels in the Nether Sky Hub and working with light blue stained clay. Although coincidentally, he also gets set on fire, but that's just because of the ghasts.
I don't want False Symmetry to come back from her vacation trip or whatever and be like, why, Joe, did you blow all of this up?
Now here's hoping none of that comes around False's Cathedral in the medieval district, as we've already had our share of buildings being on fire. Though made mostly of blast-proof blocks, the mushroom-walled build still wouldn't win that fight. Most of the cobblestone decorations would survive, sure, and the red terracotta roof was a smart decision, but she's not in the business of monsters fighting houses anyway. This is just speculation in case the derp gets back on their grind.
And I've had a lot of comments that are basically like, False Ubuntu Cathedral, have it in some way as a tribute, and I'm totally up for that. But I don't know how to do that, because obviously I've got such a set design, I can't really necessarily make it look like the Notre Dame, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be something I'm going to focus on.
It's taken more than a derp to bring down that enormous dragon in the fantasy district, and Rendog has spent this week spinning out the story of the draconic skeleton into something that might actually make sense if your name is George R.R. Martin. Deciding the stone brick altar wasn't fantastical enough for the fantasy district, Ren takes some inspiration from a build on his own patron server and raises a medium-sized floating island, to be later equipped with an ancient, powerful bling-bling relic, which is responsible for Exhibit A, island floating, and Exhibit B, a really dead dragon.
Not only was the dragon lured to the relic by its magical power, but the relic itself lifted the earth below it from the ground.
He also invents a new workout routine thanks to a glitchy flying animation.
Yeah, this is kinda awkward, although this is a good opportunity to catch up on my push-ups.
We should mention that this whole floating island thing was intended as a way to conceal the water elevator down to his base, but mostly so that gives us an easy segue into TFC, who sets up a water elevator between the overseer's apartment in his vault and the underground railroad that takes him to the shopping district.
And I seem to recall there is at least one shop over there that sells ice.
Unfortunately, he hasn't worked with bubble elevators much, and nobody told him the water sources needed to be contained, but he finally gets it worked out after much fussing with slabs and signs, and he now has a convenient back exit if the overseer needs to make a run for it. Over his head, Grian works some more on the Sahara facades. Though in his quest of building a shop to sell everything, he can't help but notice one market that hasn't been covered yet, the diorite, or as we like to call it, uncobbled andesite.
And I've been looking around in every single box here. There's none. He burned all of it. Oh, a single block of diorite. He must have missed a bit.
Not willing to sell any of that under Iskall's nose or behind his back, due to the smelly and stainy nature of the material, he hides a tiny distribution point for it in the ever-expanding pile of guano under the random parrot sitting on a roof. At this point, Grian becomes a winged creature himself, spreading elytra wings and promising to build a flying race course for his fellow flyers, spanning all around the main island of the season, though making the checkpoint rings not stick out like a sore feather will surely be quite a challenge.
But I think that's a really good starting point. Every hit that you take adds 5 seconds onto your time or something like that. I haven't come up with all of the ins and outs.
And finally there's Mumbo, who decides that 20 FPS is an acceptable frame rate for crafting melons.
Oh, wow. I might have crafted too many of them. I didn't...
At least they haven't formed the illegal melon sphere this time. When he's done reassembling fruit, he does some more assembly over at Sahara, doing, something to finish the storage system. Seriously, he said something about falling edges and pulse extenders, and I sort of blacked out for a minute there.
Is this not the greatest thing ever? This is probably one of the coolest looking redstone contraptions I've ever constructed on the Hermitcraft server.
But the snap back to reality came when he realised they would need over 1,000 shulker boxes to fill every storage module at the Sahara warehouse, then went and casually installed some shulker box storage at his own base. I mean, there's only 7, but surely they need every box they can get at this point. With that taken care of and Grian removed from the item filter, Mumbo heads over to the Treat Your Chick ranch for a crash course in chicken care courtesy of Stress Monster.
Here is showing that she's alive, so that's kind of what happens. Obviously if she dies she poops on death.
Yep.
So you do get your poop.
Right, I see. Okay, that sounds good to me.
Remember, this chicken is supposed to be basically immortal thanks to Iskall's tampering, but with Mumbo looking after it, we give it a month tops. And that's just about it for this week's recap. Our writer is ZloyXP, and my name is Pixelriffs. And this week we want to extend a special thanks to Thomas to Space, who's developed an additional tool for us to get the clips we use to make these videos. Which, by the way, if you've missed our bonus video about how we make the recaps, there is a link to that in the end screen theatre. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.